Today I'm looking at the GKS 18v-57G circular saw from Bosch. It is an 18 volt unit and it has a 165mm blade. Straight away you might see that the blade is on the right hand side. So if you're right-handed, that kind of makes it hard to see where you're cutting compared to the left-hand side ones. I kind of prefer the left-hand blades now because I'm right-handed. But when you're cutting, most of the time your workpiece will be here, so at least you've got plenty of support on your workpiece, which is a bit of a pain when the blade's on the other side because you only have this little bit. It's harder to get an accurate cut because the blade tends to want to drop off with the weight of the motor and everything. So this tool runs at 3400 RPM, has an aluminium base. And there's two saws very similar. They have similar names. There's the GKS 18v-57 and then the 57G. So the 57 is basically the depth of cut, and G is for the base, which I'll tell you about in a moment. But we'll just look at the basic things here. So the base and the top of the guard here are aluminium, and but the bottom of the guard is a very thick, but hard to see there, is it? Very thick nylon. And holding it like that feels, pretty similar to every other saw. Got your safety guard there. You have tool storage on the front handle here for your blade, moving your blade, so that's handy. Seems fairly solid. I don't think that'll fall out of there too easily. Nah, it's pretty good. What else? The base is the biggest difference on this. So the 57 is a standard sort of base, whereas the 57G is a base designed to go in a track. So if you've got the rail you can buy the rail from Bosch, but it will also fit on a Makita rail and a Festool rail and maybe some others, I'm not sure, but I know it'll fit on those two. So that does not come on the 57, only the 57G. So you pay a bit more for that, of course. So they're trying to make this like a cheap plunge saw, I guess you could say. But it doesn't have all the plunge saw attributes, of course. It's a lot cheaper than a plunge saw. So you've got your your lock here for changing your blade. So that'll keep your blade solid when it kicks in. So on the front and back of the base here, we have adjustments. Okay, so that way you can have a very secure locked angle. Cutting at 90 degrees, this will cut 57mm deep, which is pretty good for a 165mm blade. And on a 45 degree angle, 45 degree bevel of the base plate, you will cut 42mm, whereas with the 57 you'll only cut 38mm, I think, or 39mm. So you get a little bit more cut with this than you do with the other model. Okay, it comes in this country standard with a 165mm blade with 36 teeth. It's got a 20mm arbor. That'll be 16mm in some countries. Also comes with a rip guide, which is pretty good actually. Better than a lot of the ones you see around. It's a bit more sturdy than a Makita one. I will be comparing this tool shortly to my Makita circular saw, just to give you a comparison. This is still a brushed saw. Bosch haven't released a brushless one. Don't know why yet. Bit behind the ball on that one. So still a brush tool. Also comes with attachment here for dust collection, which I probably won't put on because if you haven't got dust collection hooked up, then it's firing the dust at you instead of out to the side. So the base is the nifty bit of this tool, the point of difference, I guess you would say. So like I say, it's set up to be like a plunge saw, but it doesn't have most of the features of a plunge. It doesn't have scoring cuts. It's not spring loaded or anything like that. But you do have front and rear locks on the bevel of the base plate, which I had a play with earlier, and it's so damn tight, it's just a bit of a pain in the ass. So look, it's real stiff and clunky. It's not a nice movement at all, not on this one anyway. When you come up, they've got a bit here you can see beveled out to push the blade guard handle thing out of the way there. But yeah, it's a bit, doesn't flow smoothly. It's real clunky, and these are so loose. You know, they're wobbly as anything, loose as hell, but still really sticks. So yeah, that's not very nice, unfortunately. Oh, man, yeah, not impressed with that. So it's not a very quick on the job site easy change due to that just being so bloody stiff. You've got your degrees written on here, 15, 22.5, 30, 45 and 0, but there's no positive stops or anything going that way that I can feel. It's just a big, yeah, just goes all the way through if you can get it to slide smoothly. That is. Jeez. Look how grubby that looks. Look at the finishing on that. That's rough. It looks like a second-hand bit of bloody metal on there. Yeah, so I might spray some silicone or something on there just to loosen that up. Anywho, that's that. Do those up. So you've got the handle on the left here for sliding that way, which has no easily seen the yeah. So it slides easy, but trying to see the depth of cut, it's written in here on the metal in the same color as the metal. So you've got 57 right at the top. I don't even know if you'll be able to pick that up on the camera. It's so hard to see, really. Could have at least made something different colour there. But anyway, you've got 10mm increments all the way up there. That slides very smooth, totally unlike the other bevel adjustment. So 57mm of cut, like I say. Let's put a battery on it, see what she sounds like, see how good the brake is, see if it's got any lights. So there you go, you can see LED light there on the front. Doesn't look terribly bright. You won't know that one until you try and cut, but yeah. Looks quite fat here too. Hard to see your line maybe. Well, compare that when I compare it to the Makita. So let's pull the trigger, see what this blade will do, how quick it'll stop. Nice and quiet tool. Oh, I can smell it though already. Hopefully that's nothing bad. Very quick brake. Very quick brake. Just as quick, maybe quicker than the Makita. So that's good. This tool, 3400 RPM, like I said, is actually 500 RPM less than the previous model from Bosch. So that's surprising. But maybe they've managed to get a bit more torque out of the motor. So we'll see how that goes in the cut test. I've only got the 2 amp hour wireless batteries to test it with, so for those of you who think that you'll get a lot more sort of grunt out of a 6 amp hour battery, unfortunately I can't test that, so bugger. Also comes with a hefty tome of a manual, which, you know, any language you want. If you want to learn how to speak languages, this is the manual for you, because I don't know how many languages are in here, but it is dozens and dozens. So there's only about 3 pages on each language. And there's, I don't know how many pages are in here. 200, over 270 pages. Gotta be joking. And a manual for the blade, which basically just has a whole lot of things telling you, you know, if you were born on another planet, what a saw blade is, you know, and safety instructions for the electro tool. So there it is, that's the specs. Let's go check it out, see how she performs. Now I can't go outside to do the cut test today, she's a bit miserable. Because I don't have two of these new blades, I'll do a few cuts with the Bosch, with the new blade on it, then I'll swap the blade onto the Makita, and I'll do a few cuts of the Makita. Going to start off by going through 4x2. So some treated 4x2, it's a little bit green still in the middle probably. But I'll do a few cuts, see how it feels, see how quick it is, and then swap it over to the Makita. Just did a whole heap of cuts and I wasn't even bloody recording. Anyhow, let's start that again then. Get that into position. Far out. You see, if I really push it hard, it cuts out. There's no kickback or anything like that, so that's a very handy feature. Safety wise, not too noisy, but maybe sounds a little bit odd. So now I'll take off this blade and swap it out onto the Makita so that it's as close to fair as possible. I'll show you how to take this off. So to change the blade, battery off, tool out, find your triggery thing here, the red button, push that in. Now is it left or right handed thread? Let's have a look here. No, that's not going to work. So turn it anti-clockwise to the left, lefty loosey. It's because the blade's on the right hand side. Blade's on the left hand side, bolts usually go the other direction. So it's a nut, a bolt and a washer there. Flange there. And look at that, the arb is actually tiny. They do this a lot, these tool companies. They make different ones for different countries, so they just have a small one in the middle and they just change the flange. So they've packed this out to 20mm. But really, it's less than 16mm, isn't it? More like a bloody Ryobi 10mm one. I'll just measure that. What we've got here. Oh. The best thing to measure it with. Yeah, that's an odd measurement. It's like half an inch. 12-13mm, something like that. Odd. Well, I think it's odd. So anyway, that's that off. Better put this back on so I don't lose it. And I'll chuck the blade on the Makita. So same blade going on the Makita. I have to flip it over this way because of the way the blade turns, because it's on the other side of the tool. As you can see here, the arb is much gruntier on the Makita, but it's still packed out. So that's a 16mm arbor there, and you put that washery thing on, and then it packs it out to 20mm. If it was in the United States, Canada, that sort of thing, that wouldn't be there. You'd just be on. That would be the 16mm. You wouldn't need to have a 20mm lip there. So differences on this saw, just while I'm putting this on. This has got a metal magnesium blade guard as opposed to the nylon-y plastic one on the Bosch, and it's got like a purpose nut. It's got a, you do this, you know, it's a different thread to the other ones with right hand. It undoes to the right rather than lefty-loosey, so a bit harder to get if you lose it, that sort of thing. Also the washer type bit is attached to the bolt, it's not a separate thing for you to lose. So you got to turn that to the left, put it back in. Similar Allen wrench design. Spin, spin. Da, 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 da. Push your button in on the front. Alright, she's done up. Now this, instead of going in the handle like the other one, goes in the base down here, which can be a bit annoying. You've got to usually undo the damn thing, drop the base down to get it off. Anywho, let's chuck a battery on that, and we will put her on through the same test. If I can find a battery. Oh, in the van. Alright. So I'm using a 3 amp hour battery here because I don't have a 2 amp hour Makita battery. Same piece of wood. So as you can see, just like the Bosch, cuts out if you push too hard, no kickback. The Makita does have a torque indicator on here. If it gets under more torque, the blade will slow down, crank up the torque, green light comes on down here, and you can power on through. I had to push a lot harder just then to make that stall than I did on the Bosch. Actually hurt my wrist that last one. So that powered through that, in my opinion, a lot better. But this is brushless. Why are you comparing a brushless and brush tool? Well, as far as I'm aware, the Bosch one doesn't come on a brushless model, so that's their fault, not mine. If you're going out to buy the tools, they're comparable, because you can't buy something that doesn't fucking exist. So Makita did a lot better. This is 5,000 RPM and brushless. The other one is 3,400 RPM and brushed. So I'll just have a look at the bases here, show you the bases. What have I done with the Bosch? So you can see the base on this Makita is very narrow when compared to the Bosch. Look at the size difference there. That is mammoth. So the Bosch looks to be, geez, 2.5 inches wider than the Makita, but of course the Makita, not designed to go on a track, doesn't have any of the track features that this one does. So some other differences between these two tools. The Makita has a rafter hook, Bosch doesn't have anything like that. The Makita, only when you bevel it, only has a locking point at the front, whereas the Bosch has the more secure front and back, but it's a bit of a pig to use. Apart from that, their circular saws are fairly similar, same sort of. Well, actually, the Bosch is a button push-in one, whereas the Makita is a push-down one. They're both left or right side for left or right-handed people using the saw. Both have a plastic guide on the front, which can be screwed off and replaced. Actually, the Bosch one's that whole unit. So you've damaged that. You've damaged your whole. Doesn't look as good. This is easily replaceable if something goes wrong, whereas this one, yeah, not so much. I think I'll have a bit more of a play with this, see what I think of it. I mean, it's an okay saw, of course, and if you're into the track side of it, well then it's better than this one. And you can throw it on a Makita track, so that's handy if you've got a Makita track. I was perhaps a bit premature in my assessment of the rip guide, because as you can see, if you put it in there, well, you've got to rip something this wide or bigger, and if you put it on the other side, you know, once again, narrowest you can rip is like about 40 mil. So that's a bit crummy. Also, you can't attach anything to this easily because there's no holes in it, and so it's got very little on the front there. I would have rather had that protrusion. I would rather have a bit more out the front, so that when you're starting your cut, you can line up better. So yeah, not as happy with that as I thought, because compared to the Makita, as you can see here, it gets all the way across till it's right next to the blade, so you can cut any thickness you want. So that's a bit of a bummer. Plus the Makita, you can do it front and back, or either side. And with the Makita, I think it does actually come, I think you can get an attachment, don't quote me on this, that you put into the guide rail slots there, that will then hook over a rail, track rail. So yeah, the Bosch had set up to do ripping a cut up a piece of wood, and I can't actually do it because it's going to get in the way of the clamps and not cut off in the right place. Fail. This is 25mm thick Vitex hardwood. Let's rip it without a rip guide. Well, I did that okay, not terribly quick. See if I can go a little bit quicker. You can hear the blade slowing down there and eventually stop. Now it's a fully charged battery, or it was when we started. Let's have a look how much is left now. Where are we? Oh, down to 1 already. Far out. I'll swap that battery over and do another cut. Where's the other battery? Okay, new battery. Are you kidding me? Seem to be worse. Oh, and down to, alright, pop straight back up again. She's not flash. Because I've only got these 2 amp hour batteries, I won't do a performance sort of length test. Probably find another video somewhere on YouTube about how many cuts it'll do compared to a Makita or a Dewalt and everything else. But it did seem to suck through the juice pretty quick. I mean, that first battery I put on, it did, I don't know, half a dozen or so cuts in the 4x2 and a couple of rip cuts in that bit of Vitex, and it was on its last legs. Let's see if it's sprung back to life at all. Oh yeah, it has. Okay, so it wasn't quite down to 1 bar, but it's obviously close to 1 bar. So you wouldn't get too many cuts out of it, that's for sure. I wouldn't have thought you'd get many more than, say, 20 cuts in a 4x2. And that'd be the end of that 2 amp hour battery. But a 2 amp hour battery is very small, I know that. Those I've got for my drills, not for the saw. yeah, I'm going to take this out, do some real work with it, and then I will do a summary. Right, it's been about another week. I've taken it out and she's done a bit of work. I've managed to lose the Allen key. I thought it was quite tight, but somehow it's fallen out and disappeared, so that's the end of that. Thankfully it fits the same one as my Makita, so that's not a big deal. Allen keys are easy to come by. You can get another one and shove it in. How did it do on a job? Well, it's no Makita. I also was using a brushed Makita, the what is it? The 610 or 611. Can't remember if it was a 16 or 611, which is probably more relatable to this tool in that it's brushed in about the same speed. And the Makita still kicked this thing's butt. So if this was cheap, which it was for me, I got it at a really good price, so that's not so bad. But if they were the same price, then I'd pick the Makita any day of the week. But if you want the track function, that could be quite handy. I don't have a track, unfortunately, to test it on, so yeah, I haven't been able to do that. The base has stood up quite well. It hasn't got a scratch on it. It's pretty good. Yeah, so not as good as a Makita in my opinion. I know I'll get abused by some Bosch fanatic down the bottom. But yeah, if you want the track function, could be quite handy. A cheap alternative to a plunge saw, because it's a hell of a lot cheaper than a plunge saw. I mean, the new Makita 36-volt plunge saw's out now, and that's about 5 times what I paid for this. So yeah, big difference if you're on a budget. So in my opinion, having been used to the Makitas, I wouldn't buy one of these again. But if you've already got the Bosch batteries and everything, well then you're going to go for this, of course. So thanks for watching. It would have been good to have a track to test it on, but I don't want to have one. I'll see you on the next vid. Maybe I should go back to reviewing Makita tools. Thanks guys, see you on the next one.